Program Manager on the Power Apps Customer Advisory team, and in this video, we'll discuss the environment and DLP request components that are part of the CoE Starter Kit. Let's first look at the problem. Power Platform admins have to balance security and adoption. That means mitigating that data exfiltration by setting up data loss prevention policies, managing consumption and cost, and providing platform support to the makers using the platform. So that means setting up environments for them, setting up security roles, and helping them use the platform in the most secure and effective way. Adoption can only securely increase if the admin infrastructure can scale to support that. As organizations become more and more mature, they see an increase in Power Platform demand. It can often become challenging to manage the growing number of users, apps, environments, and so on. You're probably familiar with this problem. For larger enterprises who need to control the environment sprawl, it is often best to restrict non-admins from creating environments, to control the shared tenant capacity and reduce the risk of that sprawl. It's also a good way to make sure that your data is secure, since you can restrict who can access each environment. However, restricting non-admins to a small number of environments does make it harder for them to develop on the platform. Makers can become restricted to the default environment, which can become very crowded and lead to escalations. To avoid that, makers must rely on the admin to create environments, and admins need to decide if they can support that. Very often there is a lot of manual effort involved in that. The solution for that is obviously an automated request management process, and that's exactly what the CoE Starter Kit is implemented. It comes with an interface for makers to request new environments and to request for DLP policies to be applied to those environments, and a way for admin to approve and reject those environments. But the entire process of provisioning environments, adding security roles to those environments, applying DLP policies, all of that is taken care of by automations, so it really reduces the burden on the admin. The personas involved in that process are the makers. They can request new environments, they can request access to specific connectors in that environment, and therefore comply with the company's requirements as environment owners. And from an admin point of view, the admin views and acts on requests for environment and DLP policy changes, but they no longer have to manually create those resources. Let's now look at what the interface for the maker and the admin looks like. As a maker, I have access to the Maker Environment Request application where I can request new environments. I can select which connectors I want to use in that environment. So in my case, I'm going to select Dataverse and SQL. I can then select who else needs to be an environment admin, and then provide the admin with the purpose and business justification of that environment so they can make a decision on approving or rejecting that request. So for example, let's say I'm hosting a hackathon for the sales department. I want this to be a production environment. Because I already know that this environment is only needed for a specific amount of time to support the hackathon, I can ask for that environment to be automatically cleaned up after 60 days. That allows makers to back up everything that they've created, and then the environment is cleaned up and the tenant is kept tidy. I will need a database for that environment, so Dataverse instance, and I can select here the language and currency. If I already have a security group with the makers that are going to participate in that hackathon, I could ask for that security group to be added here to that environment. I leave that blank in my case. If I now look at my pending requests, I can see that request has been filed. Let's now go over to the admin side of the story. From an admin point of view, I have access to the admin environment request application, and I can see here that a new request has been filed. I can view the request details. So I can see the business justification, who's requested it. I can also see what connectors have been requested, and I can immediately see DLP policies that will apply to that environment once it's been created. So in my case, I've got an all environments policy and an exclude certain environments policy. Both of these will apply to the environment once it's been created, and I can see that both of them do not block the connectors that have been requested by Lee. So that means no further action is required. If there was any blocking policies, I can modify them from here. I can adjust the policies or select for different ones to be applied to that environment. I can additionally add a security group to that environment, and if multiple admins monitor the request center, I can add a note here for them. and I'll approve that request. Back from a maker point of view, I can now see that that environment request has been approved, and the provisioning of that environment is now taking place by an automated background process, so the admin does no longer have to manually create that environment. Another frequent ask from makers is for different DLP policies to be applied to their existing environments, because as they develop their applications, they may need access to additional connectors. That's also supported by this application. So using the DLP policy change request, I can file a new request, ask for a policy to be applied to my environment. I can check for the connectors that I need. So I need SQL, which I can see from here is not available in the power user policy, but it is available in the other 3 policies that are visible to me. And another connector I need is Outlook. And I can see that connector is available in all the policies. So I'll pick the most appropriate policy. I'll pick the environment and provide a reason for the admin to approve that request. And again, from an admin point of view, I can review filed DLP policy change requests, and I can approve and reject them from here. From this app, I can also choose which DLP policies to make visible to the maker. So I can see here that I've got quite a handful of DLP policies in my tenant, but I've chosen to only make the ProDev, power user, and productivity policy visible to the makers for request in the DLP policy change request application. So they can't see the other DLP policies and therefore cannot request for those to be applied to their environments. Right, let's quickly recap the process. So from a maker point of view, I've got a Canvas application where I can submit new environment and DLP policy change requests. From an admin point of view, I'll review, approve, and reject those requests from the Canvas application as well. If the request is rejected, the developer gets an email and the process ends there. If the request is approved, the public from admin connectors take care of approving the environment, granting access, and provisioning the database, and notifying the maker that the environment has been created. As you saw in the demo that we've just walked through, you can request environments for only a specific period of time. So there is a daily automated check for expired environments. If the environment is already expired, then it will be deleted from the tenant. If it's not yet expired but coming up for expiration, we'll email the developer to let them know that their environment is coming up for deletion, and they can request an extension, which is then stored and also approved and rejected. Thanks for watching this video walking through the environment and DLP request components that are part of the CoE Starter Kit. Hopefully this video was useful in helping you get started with those components. Please subscribe to the Power Platform YouTube channel to stay up to date with videos we're releasing on the CoE Starter Kit.